These are The Wise Mind of Emperor Haile Selassie, Chapter 1, titled Peace. It's like a Bible, 1:4. Unless a desire for peace is expressed in terms of concrete achievements and thus gives a sense of assurance and sincerity to humanity, mere pious hopes constitutes only self-delusions. 1:6. The great nations of the world would do well to remember that in the modern age, even their own fates are not wholly in their hands. Peace demands the united efforts of all of us. 1:8. Peaceful coexistence is not merely the absence of war. The word itself is an empty bottle. It is for us to give and to give it content and meaning. 1:14. We desire nothing but peace, an opportunity quietly and without hindrance to march along the path of progress. 1:15. The teachings of the Gospels in Ham in the past centuries have served as a guiding factor and instrument for the freedom and independence now enjoyed by many Hamites throughout the continent. As St. Paul said, where the Spirit of the Most High is, there is liberty. 1:16. The responsibility for safeguarding the world peace is not limited to the great powers. Peace and war affect not only the big powers, but all humankind, and therefore the concerns of all people of the world. 1:17. We must ensure that disputes in Ham are settled peacefully. If our continent is not free from internecine strife, how are we able to hope to influence others whose disputes endangers the peace of the world? 1:17. 1:18. Never fail to reflect the patient faith of all peoples, that only through discussion, collaboration, agreement, and enforcement of the will of humankind may the world peace and stability be achieved. 1:19. The preservation of peace and the guaranteeing of man's basic freedoms and rights require courage and eternal vigilance. Courage to speak and act, if necessary, to suffer and die for truth and justice. 1:20. Eternal vigilance is the principle that at least transgression of international immorality shall not go undetected and unremedied. These lessons must be apologies and parasites. 1:20. Eternal vigilance is the principle that the least transgressions of international morality shall not go undetected and unremedied. These lessons must be learned anew by each succeeding generation, and that generation is fortunate indeed which learns from his own bitter experience. 1:21. Warfare has never made and will never make the affirmative contribution to the welfare of humankind. Good is not able to grow out of evil. 1:22. The life of the world is such that periods of constructive achievements are followed by periods of destruction. The periods of construction brings peace, and the period of destruction brings uncertainty. 1:23. In the pondering of over the life and the goodness of humility and sacrifice of the survivors of the world, and in looking at the laws which he gave us, how much should we be ashamed to call ourselves Israelite people, and yet not follow thy footsteps? 1:24. How we've been Israelite people, or had we been Israelites, had we been worthy of the name, peace would have reigned on all face of the earth, and would have risen to the level of those immortal angels who always glorify the eternal source, and the peoples of the world would no longer remain divided into hostile camps. 1:25. War and rumors of war are occupying the attention of governments and peoples, but the world is thirsting more than ever for peace and justice. 1:27. There is enough hunger and misery in the world without further war and suffering. 1:28. The vast sums swallowed by modern arsenals capable of infinite destruction may be employed in providing food for hungry mouths, in eradicating poverty, illiteracy, and disease, and building in the building for a united world, the better way of life which man's Guinness has made possible. 129. Let us vow to bring together only. Let us vow to bring together only that we may, in our strength, advance in the time when what the fuck? My apologies again. 129. Let us vow to be strong today, only that we may, in our strength, advance the time when it would be possible to beat our swords and the plowshares, and when nation shall not make war upon nation. Let us pledge together that this time will not be long. 131. I don't think that Italy has enriched her history, illustrious in other ways, by sending her sons to massacre Ethiopians, or that her economy will derive, by her brutal methods or exploiting my country, more profit than she would have derived by a loyal collaboration with a peaceful Ethiopia. 132. Disarmament has become the urgent imperative of our time. I do not say this because I equate the absence of arms to peace, or because I believe that bringing an end to the nuclear arms race automatically guarantees peace, or because the elimination of nuclear warheads from the arsenals of the world will bring in its wake the change of attitude requisite to the peaceful settlements of disputes between nations. 133. Disarmament is vital today, quite simply because of the immense destruction capacity of which men dispose. 134. Conflicts between nations will continue to arise. The real issue is whether they will. Conflicts between nations will continue to arise. The real issue is whether they are to be resolved by force or by the resorts of peaceful methods and procedures administered by impartial institutions. 135. Unless peaceful solutions are devised, councils of moderation will avail to naught. 136. The major challenges confronting the world today are two: the preservation of peace and the betterment of living conditions that half of the world which is poor. These are, of course, mutually independent. 137. Without peace, it is futile to talk of improving humans' lot, and without such improvement, the task of guaranteeing peace is rendered manifold more difficult. The assault on these two problems must be made simultaneously, and all of our actions should be taken with an eye to the solution of both. 138. Were a real and effective disarmament achieved, and the funds now spent in the arms race devoted to the were a real 138 were a real and effective disarmament achieved, and the funds now spent in the arms race devoted to the amelioration of man's state, were we to concentrate only on the peaceful use of nuclear knowledge, how vastly and how short a time might be changed the conditions of humankind. This should be our goal. 139. There is no doubt that the wealth wasted in destruction of humans, if properly utilized, have contributed enormously towards the welfare of humans and the worldwide advancement of civilization. 140. Contrary to a certain notion that the preservation of the world peace is exclusive preserve of the great powers, the question of the question of peace and war, because it involves the survival of humanity, is one that is intimately and vitally connected with all the people of the world. 142. Distant worlds have been brought closer and mysteries have been unfolded. All these achievements should have brought satisfaction to humankind. However, humanity, among other things, has used the great achievements to evil ends. 143. The realization that such a state of affairs is incapable with the needs of our time has led to, of late, all leaders and all humans' goodwill to determine to live in peace and to coexist in spite of the ideological, social, and economic differences existing in the world. 144. It is therefore the sacred duty of all to make advance. So it is therefore the sacred duty of all to take advantage of the recent general denti and to strive to bring about enduring peace, so that we may spare ourselves of the condemnation of posterity in history. 146. To live in peace and friendship with all humans today, it is only necessary that these principles find the universal observance which we have so long urged. 147. The way to peace among humans and nations rests in the ever-handed applications and enforcement of the principles of the United Nations and the organizations of Hamite unity. 148. As long as there are men who believe that one race is superior to the other, and that they are able to lead the destinies of other humans by any means, there shall be no peace. 149. With groundless irredentism and the interference of other states' internal affairs, there will be no peace. 150. It is only by adhering to the principles set out in the charters of the United Nations and the organizations of Hamite unity that we may achieve our aims, and that our unity will grow stronger. 151. The greatest disturbance that may be caused in the relations among humans is the confirmation and the consecration of a violence of a violence of a right in the law, homage paid to aggressors, and the sacrifice of a victim. 152. To win the war and to overcome the enemy upon the field is unable alone to ensure the victory and peace. The cause of war must be removed. Each nation's rights must be secure from violation. 153. Above all, from the humankind must be erased all thoughts of war as a solution. Then and only then will war erase. 154. This is the ultimatum presented to us. Secure conditions whereby humans will entrust their security to a larger entity or risk annihilation. Persuade humans that their salvation rests in their subordination in the national and local interests to the interests of humanity, or endanger humans' future. 155. There are objectives yesterday unattainable, today essential, which we must labor to achieve. Until this is accomplished, humankind's future remain hazardous and permanent. So 155. There are the objective yesterday unobtainable, today essential, which we must labor to achieve. Until this is accomplished, humans' future remains hazardous, and permanent peace a matter of speculation. Oh, man. 156. Shit crazy, man. In order that the work of evil, ironically, may not triumph again over the redeemed humanity, all peace-loving peoples must rally together for the definite and the reestablishment of peace and rights. 157. Today, humans hope for a special future, when yesterday we saw only the means to postpone the final Holocaust. 158. If the condition of peace is such as will satisfy the conscience and the sense of justice of humans, if it is assured that humankind that they shall toil and live happily under a just system in which no discrimination will be made between small and great, the peace system that shall be laid down may leave a heritage for coming generations, which will be a happy life and boundless prosperity. 160. Use your knowledge for good and preserve peaceful humans, or peace among humans. Liberation.